Busta Rhymes busted out of the trenches of his Brooklyn neighborhood and into hip-hop's golden era of the late 80s when he, along with a few classmates, decided to test rap's murky waters. The male Missy Elliot gained notoriety for his funky, animated style of rapping, similar to Misdemeanor herself, and he'd go on to create his own lane within hip-hop's corridors. Decades have passed since Busta passed the courvoisier, and despite a few hits and misses, he's been able to keep his personal life, well, personal. However, bits and pieces have seeped through the cracks, a life-threatening health condition being amongst the few, and we honestly haven't heard much of Busta Rhymes since. So, what exactly happened to him? Trevor George Smith Jr. derived from East Flatbush's Brooklyn neighborhood before gathering his belongings and moving to Uniondale, Long Island, where he'd attend George Westinghouse Career and Technical Education High School. Amongst his peers, a handful of known alumni fell in line with his musical aspirations. Fellow future icons, the Notorious B.I.G. and Sean Carter, or Jay-Z, were among the few who probably passed an unknown Busta on a daily. Gaining his credits, he'd eventually graduate in 1991 before stepping out into his one true calling, music. Just a few short years earlier, however, Trevor, along with some of his closest homeboys, decided to shoot their shot at this whole music thing and formed a group, the Leaders of the New School. Getting their big break not too long after their creation, the group got a major opportunity to open for none other than hip-hop old heads' Public Enemy. This is also when the moniker Busta Rhymes was created. PE member Chuck D gave the name after Minnesota Vikings wide receiver George Busta Rhymes after witnessing Busta's showman skills and stage presence. Leaders of the New School released their debut, A Future Without a Past, in 1991 through Elektra Records. Now established and steadily gaining momentum, Leaders of the New School used their skills and connections to help land them collaborative tracks with A Tribe Called Quest, further propelling their careers. When it came to Busta, however, his rhymes in particular were a standout. Given his Jamaican background and dreadlocks, the image of a hyped-up New Yorker spitting patois had hip-hop fans wondering where this kid had come from and why they hadn't heard of him sooner. You know how the saying goes, it doesn't matter who did it first, but who does it better, or something along those lines. Busta's unique animated style had folks hooked. Granted, East Coast rappers weren't too big on the whole cartoonish vibes, but their loss. Busta's ever-growing popularity came with more opportunities, but unfortunately that also meant it came with more haters. Within his own group, to be exact. The set of Yo MTV Raps had been the designated hotspot where the group would take their final bow and Leaders of the New School would cease to exist any longer. The group was DOA, but Busta's career, thankfully, was not. Minor setbacks here and there did have him pondering about the future of his career. Did he have what it took to do this thing solo dolo? Or was his situation about to make like Boys to Men and be the end of the road? Overthinking clouded his judgment, but failed to persevere, and Busta continued to spit his rhymes for decades to come. By 1992, he'd appeared on a plethora of records, collaborating with some of music's biggest names, including fellow high school mate Biggie Smalls, and recorded interludes for Mary J. Blige's What's the 411. Coolio, Nas, Diddy, along with other 90s hitmakers, saw themselves featured on numerous Busta Rhymes-related content, and the collabs aided in the buildup of his own debut album, The Coming, with the hit single Woo-Ha got you all in check. By the time his second album, When Disaster Strikes, came about, Busta was one of rap's biggest successors, and his net worth was climbing higher than a hiker on Mount Everest. When 1998 arose, extinction-level event The Final World Front, Busta's third studio album, came in hot and had the music videos for the Janet Jackson-featured hit What's It Gonna Be on repeat all over MTV. His motor-skilled rapping technique had often been applauded, and Busta's continuous domination continued all throughout the new millennium. Elektra Records entered the 21st century with him, but wouldn't stay around for too long, deciding to cut ties with the label he called home for years. Clive Davis, yes, Whitney's old master founder, would be introduced to Busta's life via Arista Records, where his new biblical titled album Genesis came with the hits on top of hits. With a dream team of collaborators such as Khalees, Pharrell and company came in clutch, sprinkling their musical seeds all throughout the album. Hits like Break Your Neck, What It Is, and Pass the Courvoisier. Controversy came swooping in 2006 when Busta found himself in a bit of a major scuffle with a quote-unquote fan after the fan was accused of spitting on a ride belonging to Busta and his entourage. With the quickness, Busta took matters into his own hands and decided to chunk water bottles at the man, similar to the incident back in 2003 when he'd gotten into an altercation with another supposed fan. 2006 showed no mercy because Busta would get into even more trouble when he was arrested after a show in Randall's Island for being in possession of a machete. His legal troubles didn't slow him down one bit, and by the time 2007 rolled around, he was back like he never left. Well, because he never did. Genesis overall wasn't good enough for it to outdo previous albums, but his 7th album, on the other hand, became his biggest body of work yet. The Big Bang, with over 200,000 copies sold, became Busta's only #1 album of his career. Dr. Dre and Swizz Beatz accompanied a large portion of their production skills to The Big Bang, so it came to no surprise why this album, although still kissed by Busta's signature rap style, hit very much differently. Featuring the massive hit Touchin', along with its remix version, single-handedly skyrocketed The Big Bang to the top of the charts. Despite the mother of 4 of his children accusing him of DV, to which he denied, Busta was living a good and fast life and attributed his fast rapping to Chris Brown's Look at Me Now, which had everyone taking a whack at the Look at Me Now challenge, where people attempted to recite Busta's verse. Given favorable reviews, the verse did Busta justice and cemented his highest charted entry yet on Billboard's Hot 100. The song peaking at #6 while reaching #1 on the Hot R&B and Hip Hop Songs chart. The verse also helped him seal 6 BET Hip Hop Award nominations. A few reality TV appearances and features with Justin Bieber kept Busta afloat whilst he figured out his next move. Being signed to Cash Money Records appeared to be just that. His debut single, under restraints of Birdman's control, Why Stop Now, attempted to do what Look at Me Now had done. His top speed rapping is now utilized for all 3 verses on the song instead of just one. Unfortunately, it didn't do Look at Me Now numbers, despite Chris Brown being the feature this time around. The Pharrell-produced Twerk It, with the remix featuring YMCMB mate Nicki Minaj, would be his last hurrah with Cash Money before he and the label split due to what he called creative differences. Lending his skills to Broadway's Hamilton mixtape, he teamed up with his female better half, Missy Elliot, for his song Get It, released through Epic Records. Azalea Banks also took advantage of Busta's skills for her album Fantasy 2, The Second Wave. More competition shows would enter his life after competing in Fox's The Masked Singer, disguised as the Dragon, which didn't last long and he'd be eliminated during the first episode. Long and behold, we'd find out via Men's Health magazine that our good brethren Trevor almost had a one-way ticket out of this realm and into the next when he was startled awake by his own son, who had discovered his pop struggling to breathe in his sleep, following the death of 2 of the most important men in his life, one being his father and the other being longtime manager Chris Lighty, who took his own life in 2012 following a dispute with his wife. Busta packed on a few pounds, and by a few, we mean over 100. Working out was a thing of the past, and his diet was all over the place. Consulting with a throat doctor, they'd soon make the discovery of polyps restricting 90% of Busta's breathing. If he were to catch a cold or sleep the wrong way, it'd be lights out forever, and Busta was not trying to go out like that. After undergoing emergency surgery, Busta took matters into his own hands and sought out bodybuilder Dexter Jackson, after Jackson tagged him in a workout video using Busta's Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Could See. Temporarily moved to Jacksonville, Florida to kickstart the 30-day program, consisting of eating every 2.5 hours and meals containing 12 egg whites, oats, and steak, All in all, he was able to drop over 100 pounds and is more healthier and in shape than he's been in a long time. He's currently accompanying Nas and Wu-Tang Clan on their joint State of Mind tour and is back like he never left, doing what he loves to do. Were you aware of Busta's health scare? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, and stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.